Hello, I'm Alison Davies. It's good to meet you at this year's Seeds Conference, albeit virtually. I'm a graduate of the MSc in Strategic Project Management at Leeds Beckett University, where I also studied my BA in Housing. And it could be argued that sustainable outcomes heavily rely on better, more intelligent and more complex decision making. However, we know humans find complex data difficult to assimilate, and there is a notion that prevailing project management literature is based upon a hard paradigm of certainty, control, and rational decision making, which we know is flawed, and it often gives little consideration to the problem solving front end of projects. Fundamentally, projects are about people, and the ability to communicate and collaborate effectively is paramount to project success. Rethinking project management considers bringing hard paradigm, that's tools and data, and soft paradigm, such as stakeholder participation and communication, together to ensure problems can be fully explored to improve decision making and social systems within projects. If decision making is important, then maybe visualization of data, such as graphs, infographics, project plans, could be a powerful tool to help teams assimilate data more easily and develop a shared understanding and consensus of constraints, problems, and possible solutions. Vesey and Galetta proposed this cognitive fit theory for problem solving, as shown on the slide, with mental representation being key and perhaps a facilitator for team understanding to generate solutions quickly and more accurately. I was encouraged by my supervisor to adopt an experimental approach, as management science in general is considered weak in terms of hard science outcomes. Experimental designs are generally conducted within fields of psychology and economics, and as such, it's not a method that is often used in project management. So this provides valuable experience within the discipline. The research was conducted in a HydroSuite laboratory, which is designed to create critical decision immersive solutions. And it's a controlled environment which removes multiple variables so that the focal variable can be tested, which in this case was visual representation of data. Participants undertook a simulated problem-solving task with the control group presented with a typical business case in text format only, and they were given 20 minutes to identify problems and possible improvements to the organisation, and they were recorded and measured. Whereas the intervention group was given the same text, but the added independent variable was visual data. And to ensure cognitive load was not increased, a number of visual images were used, including a Gantt chart, an infographic of the manufacturing process, which represented information from the written document. And it's predicted that the visual data will enhance collaboration, communication, and problem solving. The facility also has a control room with video recording capabilities, which allows more detailed observation, which we did utilise. And hopefully, as you can see from the images on the slide, the findings are compromised by the potential for a type 2 error, but replicating the experiment is easy, and we have documented the method with adding volume to the results. And hopefully these next 3 photos, I think, dramatically demonstrate the effects on team interaction that we observed, in addition to the quantitative group performance output results we gathered. And this image here clearly shows group interaction is centred around the visual data. And again, this is a second intervention group where interaction is evident. This observation is made more dramatic when you know the actual control group, because this group of students were particularly high functioning, performing students, and the absence of the visual documents appear to dramatically hamper their performance. Overall, participants in the intervention groups identified the first problem more quickly, which seems to suggest visual representation of data aids decision making through easier identification of patterns and problems. And interestingly, one participant in a control group drew a visualization of the data to help her understanding, particularly relating to procurement, which she identified as an issue. And as she explained to the group in her words, it's difficult to think about processes and how they overlap and connect. I'm going to jump in and draw a little something for the procurement so I can get my head around it. And this is important as it suggests the visual aid ease cognitive load and enable the participants to make sense of the information. And as a result, the controlled environment became flawed as a visual diagram was introduced. And therefore, the outputs of this group were reclassified as an intervention group. An outlier in the number of problems did skew the results. And overall, however, there's still a visual difference between the independent variable introduced to the intervention groups, which is group 1 on the box and whisker plots. And the experiment set out to test whether the visualization of data improved group interaction, but this research acknowledges on this occasion the study was underpowered due to the low number of iterations, and therefore the null hypothesis could not be accepted or rejected. Although not conclusive, the additional observational notes do appear to support the alternative hypothesis, and that there is a relationship between the use of visual data and the facilitation of better interaction in a project group. And it appears likely that statistical significance could be achieved as the experiment is based on sound methodology if additional iterations were conducted. Arguably, there is an opportunity to adopt new perspectives and use visual data to generate knowledge and a mutual understanding of problems to aid quality decision making, particularly at the neglected front end of projects to ensure the right sustainable concepts are chosen. Effectively, this would bring the two project management paradigms together and, in the words of Pinto, stop making our lives more difficult than necessary. Thank you for listening, and I look forward to your questions.